Let's go.
Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. I'm your host, David Horsager. Join me as I sit down with influential leaders from around the world to discuss why leaders and organizations fail, top tactics for high performance, and how you can become an even more trusted leader. Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. It's David Horsager, and I have a special guest in a special place. We're doing a special episode today from High Point University, and if you're watching today, you'll see the cool studio here. We've got a team of 4 or 5 people in studio, so I'm grateful for each of you around studio. We're grateful for High Point University. As many of you know, I serve on the board of the university, but at High Point, I'm the expert in resident, trust expert in residence at High Point University. I love what they're doing here at High Point. We're having a great day together, speaking, sharing about trust. But today, in this moment, we get to learn from a great professor here. She started her career at Xerox. She spent 17 years at Johnson & Johnson. She was a consultant at Allergan. She has a fascinating life and loves fitness, loves family, and loves her work and her new career teaching here at High Point University. So please welcome Lyssa Haynes. Lyssa Haynes.
Lyssa.
All right,
okay.
We got it right now. All right. Well, tell us just a little bit about your background.
So you're right. Absolutely. I started with Xerox, like the department chair here. So that's a wonderful training ground for anyone. And then most of my career was at Johnson & Johnson in multiple different positions. I started off as a sales rep, and then went from there into a position at Allergan, working across the nation with a wonderful team. And then from there, I went into working at a hospital in business development, and then I came here.
And along the way, you had some kids, and now you're at High Point.
I did have some kids.
And by the way, people can look it up. It's a really cool spelling of Lyssa. So
Yes.
my wife's name is Lyssa too, so I've got that down. But
It is unusual. I changed it in high school because nobody could say it.
Yes, no, it's great. So tell us this. Let's jump into sales. We're going to get personal a little bit later. We're going to talk about a few different pieces on leadership, teaching, sales. But tell us, what did you learn those first years? You're going into Xerox. You joined the $2 million club really quickly. What do you think it takes to be great at sales?
Perseverance.
Okay.
I would say when everybody loves to connect to people, that's a lot of the reason why students are interested in going into sales. But I think a lot of times they don't realize how much true grit and true work ethic, and you have to self-motivate with those days when you really don't feel like going out and talking to 15 different offices. You got to make yourself do it. And it's hard work, but you just keep going. It's perseverance, I think.
We talk about, one of the pillars of trust is consistency.
Yes.
We talk about sameness, consistent. I'd rather have a salesperson that is the same, will do the same thing every time.
Correct.
Consistently. And what do they say? The follow-up is key. The funds are in the follow-up, right?
The funds are definitely in the follow-up.
Yep.
You can have the best plan, and I talk to my marketing students about this too. You can have the best laid plan, most beautiful marketing plan or sales plan that you've put together. But if you don't follow up on it and you have, you connect to somebody, but then you don't get back to them for a month, well, they've already forgotten who you are.
We talked about listening a little bit ago. Tell us what makes a person a great listener. I think I saw the research recently that we listen about half the time, or are supposed to, and yet people are trained on listening. Maybe 2% of sales leaders and people are trained. Maybe only 2% of them are even trained on this amazing skill. What are some tips to be a better listener?
I would say for the primary thing is picking up nonverbals, because if you're really paying attention to somebody and looking in their eyes, if they're really picking up what you're laying down or they're like lost and somewhere else. So I think picking up the nonverbal that people are hearing you, and if they're not, then you got to change it up a little bit in what you're saying. And also, you're listening not to continue to speak. You're listening to try to get them to speak. Because as a salesperson, it doesn't matter what I say. I'm not learning anything about my customer by talking. I'm learning by listening. So and then I know what they need, and then I can help them.
So how is sales? It's changed a little bit over the last few years. Now we've got digital and everything else. What are some of the things we should be thinking about as we sell today in this new digital AI ML world?
Well, I think in a way, we were just talking about prospecting in my class last week, and prospecting today, I think with social media is much easier because you don't have to rely on dated directories and the phone book and knocking on just random doors. You can actually learn a lot more about people through LinkedIn and through various social media business pages, Facebook business pages. You're often going to have more information there that's current than what we used to have to deal with back in our little files.
How do you get
that
them
we
to answer, though?
through.
If we say we need to answer the phone, how are we going to get them to answer today? It seems like, it's tough time sometimes actually getting their attention. What can we do?
Well, when trying to get people's attention, often you're not going to get right to the person you want to talk to. So we just talked about this week as well. That gatekeeper, that first person that you're talking to in an office or on the phone, you've got it. They're your first customer. So you got to treat them just like you're going to treat the CEO that you're trying to actually talk to, or the surgeon that you want to be in front of. For me, for most of my career, if you're not nice to the people along the way to get there, they're the ones that are going to help you each and every time from that point forward, if you make that work.
I was in Salt Lake City just 2 days ago speaking, or I guess I flew in yesterday, and I was eating dinner with a friend of mine, amazing sales gentleman. But we sat down, and next to us was the CEO of a massive company, and they run a huge foundation. And I won't say the names here to get us off track, but we just happened to sit down and notice something there and say hi to them. And they're getting older, but they were celebrating their I think it was 47th wedding anniversary, and
Wow.
and we just had a great visit, great encouragement time with them. And now it sounds like they're coming to our Trusted Leader Summit in Minnesota. And what I thought what my friend Randy Garn said across the table from me, he said, be nice to everyone. You never know who they are.
Absolutely.
And, be nice to everyone. Be kind to everyone. Notice everyone. So
You never know what influence that they have. So, and everyone's important.
Absolutely. Yeah, in spite of
Right?
what they can ever do for you.
Yes.
Because of who we are. I like the idea. I remember this story when there's a story about this gentleman, tipping his hat to the prostitute, and the person with him said, "What did you do that for? She's a prostitute. Do you not know who she is, what she's doing?" And the gentleman said, "Well, I don't tip my hat because of who she is. I tip my hat because I am a gentleman, and a gentleman always tips his hat to a
Isn't that
lady."
wonderful?
So who we are matters, right?
Right.
How
You're
we treat
representing yourself.
Right.
You're your own brand.
Exactly.
Yes.
So let's jump to marketing for a moment. Marketing's changed a lot in the last few years. What are
Yes.
some of the changes you see, and what are you teaching about how to deal with those changes, especially as we've gone so digital? And as an example, something we've seen in the data, we put out one of the biggest studies on trust and leadership out of North America, the Trust Outlook, and we see continually online testimonials as an example are tanking because nobody trusts or
A
less
review
and less
anymore.
trust of reviews, right? So what do we do? How do we deal with this change in marketing? What are you teaching?
Well, one is, you're absolutely right. It has changed dramatically. The impact of social media continues to grow each and every year. In the pandemic, I think it took some really big leaps. And that's a way for the message to get across. It's also a way for companies to get a pulse on what people are thinking. And yes, the testimonials and reviews nowadays can be purchased, and you're paying for somebody to say something so they've lost some impact. But the interchange and the information that's going back and forth on social media is real, and it's in real time, and people are talking. They just have to be making sure that they're hearing it and that they're responding quickly. And they're, social media is all about frequency and responsiveness.
So how do we, there's so much now, we talk about trust and authenticity and all these things, and yet he's like, is that really that person that's answering for me? Even for me, I can't watch everything out of the Institute, or even people that are David Horsager. And one of my biggest challenges when we've had marketing companies, just authentically, we've had some marketing companies help us, and in my opinion, they put a dent in our brand because they said something on behalf of the Institute or this trust work that I wouldn't say it that way. I wouldn't do it that way. And so we're trying to share this message we care about,
right,
and believe in, and
right.
believe can impact the world, and yet we need help sometimes. So you hire some marketing or help, and you want them to have our voice. We want them to help share this message so that we can impact the world greater. But it's a tough thing. What should we look for when we're looking at, or I should just say it this way. What are the best marketing people online doing differently?
Well, I'd say back to the consistency. I think you're definitely looking for a consistent message. So whoever's doing it on behalf of you has to be completely trained and 100% understand and have a passion for what you're doing so that they are trying to say it better and more like you would say it because they are bought and sold in that idea as well. And they're representing you the way that you want to be represented. Because you can't, one person is just a one person. So once a business becomes so large, you've got to have people that are there and representing your message. And I would say, just trying to make sure if it's not consistent with your brand that you're going back and revisiting, hey, this doesn't sound like me. This would have been the way I would have answered it. So constantly trying to bring those two closer together.
One thing my brother always said, he said, never give your voice. When you have a strong brand like we've tried to build over 22 years,
right?
Never give your voice to someone else. Never give the marketing to someone else. So we're thinking about what do we have help with and what don't we? So that it is truly all us as far as this is the same reason I've always believed in, writing your own books. There's a lot of people, I couldn't believe it when I heard of how many books are ghostwritten. It doesn't mean I don't need help to have editing or that kind of thing, but it's like, if you're going to put your name on it,
don't you want to write it yourself?
Yes, that ought to be you. And I think that's wrong to have all these people, especially like I don't have people, I don't want them writing certain things or being certain things on my behalf. I want that's got to be me. If I'm going to have my name on it. Now out of the Institute, we have a bigger thing going and we can go beyond me. But so tell me now, you've got these students, they're going to be maybe they're going to be a sales and marketing leader. You were a sales and marketing leader. What would you say, what are some of the key things to learn right now? What do people need to learn? I mean, we know they need to learn how to learn because everything's going to change again in 5 years.
Right.
What should we be learning? And for those that are out there today, the sales and marketing leaders, what should they be actively learning? We talk about the competency pillar, staying fresh and relevant and capable. How should they do it today?
I think, obviously coming out of the pandemic for all of us, that things have changed to a degree. I see that, what their experience has been in learning has been different. So I think they are more flexible with that, but they also need to understand the importance of preparation. And at this age, I think they are in tune with social media and they are in tune with education, like as we were with education, but understanding a large amount of preparation that it takes to go into any career, but for sure sales and marketing, because you are the outward voice of your organization. You are the one that's representing that culture and that brand. So you've got to be prepared every time that you get into a situation. And when you're new, it's very difficult to wing it.
Most training and development initiatives don't last or even solve the root problem hindering an organization. That's where TrustEdge certification comes in. TrustEdge certified partners are equipped with a suite of tools to identify, benchmark, and close gaps in trust for good. Because when you solve the real issue, you get measurable results and a culture where people actually want to make an impact. So whether you're a trainer, a manager, an HR executive, or a leader in learning and development, check out trustedgeplatform.com and see how you can start solving the root issue and get lasting results in your organization. And now back to the show.
One thing I love about High Point University is there are plenty of PhDs and research-based folks here, but in the sales department and in many of the departments, there are people that have actively done this. Like you just joined the team of professors in sales, but you were a real salesperson. You didn't just study it, you did it.
Right.
And so, but now you become an educator. You become an academic, right?
Yes.
Wow. So how do you teach it in a way these days that sticks, that makes a difference? What are you thinking about how to take what you've learned all these years to be a top salesperson?
Right.
And how are you going to transfer it to these 20-year-olds?
I give them a lot of examples of things that I did and lessons that I learned, but I also make them, for instance, part of a marketing job is, every marketing job is writing a great marketing plan. So that's what my students had to do this week. They had to write a marketing plan. They could pick the company, they could work together because team is often done in a marketing setting. So I'm trying to give them real world experiences to the best that I can, or at least exercises. I had them create a social media content calendar so they could, what are the posts going to be for the next week, and what are they going to say? What's the image going to be, or are you going to use a video? So they had to kind of plan all that. So they're actually doing it instead of just hearing about it, because I think often, especially young people, I think they got to do to kind of digest it and really get it.
Learn by doing.
Yeah, learn by doing.
Yeah.
I liked the act of doing. When I was learning, I felt like it sunk in more and I retained it better.
So we didn't get to go through the questions ahead of time, so I'm just surprising you as we go. But tell us about, a lot of times we learn from failure. A lot of us have had plenty of it.
Right.
What's a big fail you had? Sales,
marketing. A big failure I had, I would say, gosh, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think of a very specific example that would be most powerful. I would say that at the hospital that I was at most recently, every year we made sure that we were making the plan for the hospital and achieving what we wanted to. And obviously when the pandemic hit, you have to completely, your well-laid plans have to be scrapped overnight. And you have to turn around and come up with a new plan. And yes, it was a difficult time. And yes, it was different. But I really thought that the new things that we came up with to do and the new ways we tried to connect with people without being in front of them would work better than they did. It took more time than I expected. And it was a real big disappointment to me that so many people, they were just kind of frozen. Not only our team, but the people we were calling on. It was just kind of like everybody was kind of scrambling with what to do. And I felt like, I always felt like I could have done something better.
Did you think of anything? I wish I would have done this differently. What would have I done? Is there something you would have done, reacted
I think I would have started it took probably about 4 to 6 months for people to get used to online meetings. And I think I would have pushed that sooner than trying to come up the curve on that a little bit. I mean, we were doing it already to an extent, but I think if it would have been a little bit more seamless, then maybe we wouldn't have lost as much energy out there. Yeah.
So let's make a big jump here to personal. What we've noticed about great leaders and people is that they lead themselves well. And while we all do it imperfectly, I know you're big into fitness and other things, but
I am passionate about it.
What are some things you're doing to lead yourself well so that you can be a great leader, a great professor, and a great example to others?
Well, I do passionately believe in fitness. It's been something that I have done since I was very young. Right out of college, I started teaching fitness because it was enjoyable to me to bring everybody into that world, even the people that don't think they can. But for me, it gives me energy. It makes me happy. I don't do it for anyone else. I do it for myself and not personally the way that it makes me feel. But I think sharing that with other people is also, I really get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Somebody who says, oh, I just started working out and I've found something I like. Because it doesn't matter what you do. As long as you enjoy doing it, you'll do it again.
Well, I believe in that, but I love to fly fish and I love to downhill ski, and I only do them once a year.
Yeah,
right?
Those are hard to do.
So how do
every day?
Because I think the big excuse isn't a lot of the great sales leaders today that I would hear this an excuse from would say, I love to play this and love to play that when I was 20, but then I got so busy in my sales career. I'm flying 3 times a week. I'm doing this and this and this.
Right.
How did you do it? How did you preserve and prioritize time? You're a mother of twins. You did all these things. Had this career the whole time. How did you make time for it in the busiest times?
Well, I'm a huge scheduler. I love to set up a plan and set up my time. I always schedule my time. And it's just like an appointment. Like it was an appointment for my time. And that, the thing about it, a lot of people think with fitness, you've got to dedicate all of this tremendous amount of time. You really don't. a daily 30 minutes will work if that's all the time that
How
you
did you do
had.
it when you were
Even
on
if
the
it's
road?
20, it's
Yeah.
better than none.
So let's take you on the busiest days. You were on the road. You got to show up with that surgeon. You got to show this device. You got to deal with this workflow of patients.
Yes.
How did you schedule then? Was there a best time right away in the morning, later? How did you do it?
I was an evening workout. I like to do it at the end of the day. A lot of people prefer in the morning because they go ahead and get it done. I'm just already kind of on my day and thinking about my day. So that's when I could kind of re-energize myself is at the end of the day so that the evening was, it gives you energy. A lot of people don't think so. But for me, it gave me energy. So that kind of revved me back up. And
So there's people listening and they believe in workout. Of course, fitness is important. Of course it is, but they're not doing it.
Right.
What's the first step? What can they start doing? What should they start doing?
Carve out 10 minutes. Because most of the time, even if you're going to the gym, you say, I'm just going to go to 10 minutes, or I'm just going to go outside and walk for 10 minutes. Usually they won't walk for 10 minutes. They'll walk for 15 or 20 because it's the act of getting there and starting. That's the hardest part.
Just put the workout clothes on.
That's the hardest part is getting going. Like I tell when I would have fitness classes that would come and I'd say, you've already done the hardest part. You got here. And that's the thing. Just get started. And you don't have to do anything. When a lot of people start a fitness program, they want to. I'm gonna do 3 days a week and working out and an hour of cardio, and 2 days a week I'm gonna lift for 20 minutes. Maybe that's too much to start. Start with a little bit, and then once you start that as a habit, you can grow from there.
Any other habits that have helped you be a better mom or a better leader?
I would definitely say communication, making sure, I knew what my kids needed. I knew when there were events that I needed to be there for them. I knew, what my boss needed. I knew, just keeping tabs with everybody, frequent communication, as well as quick response. I was always one to, and I feel strongly about when people send you a message and want to hear from you, then you need to get back to them because they sent it to you for a reason. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even if it's, hey, I'll get back to you. I got your message. I'll get back to you because you didn't have time to really thoughtfully think about the answer. At least you're getting back.
So you're an educator now. You're in this academic world. What are you learning? What are you curious about these days?
Wow, I would say this definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone because after a long career and doing what you're doing, and you can do it in your sleep. Seeing students every single day and teaching them and sharing them everything that I've gotten up here, that was different. That was definitely new. And you have a certain curriculum that you're teaching. So I had to make it mine. So learning that, how to take the curriculum that we have and adapting it to what I know. So, you'll have a whole PowerPoint in front of you and you'll scrap the whole thing and write your own. So it took more time, but it was now in the second semester doing it. It's funny. I looked at something I did last semester yesterday because I was going to present it today. And I said, oh, wow. And I didn't have my notes in front of me. And everything I wrote down was exactly the same thing I would have said before. So it's learning about what connects and what works too. Yeah. Because, if you see a sea of students out there listening to what you're saying and you're not, you just know they're not hearing it, then you got to change. You got to adapt.
Contextualizing, and we know our work. What we're constantly thinking about when we teach even facilitators and coaches is thinking, okay, that's really great content. That's really good ideas. But what does that mean to them?
Correct.
Right now.
Correct.
What does that mean to them right now? We even talk about, there's a lot of people call themselves thought leaders, and we do all this research and stuff, but you're a thought leader once you take that new research and ideas and
adapt
it means something to them in that boardroom or that classroom.
Right. And keeping it current. I mean, they don't want to hear always what happened 20 years ago. They want to hear what's going on now and what's going to mean when they get out of school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Well, you can find more about Lyssa Haynes and the other great professors here at High Point University at High Point University. Tell me. Like I said, at highpoint.edu. All right. They might cut it, they might not, but you'll never forget it. Highpoint.edu. You can see all of the experts in residence, from a host of them, from Wozniak to Sanborn to McCain and other dear friends, the founder of Netflix and the CEO of the Dallas Mavericks. It's been a treat to be a part of High Point. You're going to it's an amazing campus. If you ever come on campus, it's an amazing place. There are amazing professors. It's been a treat to be with you, Lyssa.
Thank you so much.
And the last question is, it's the Trusted Leader Show.
Right.
Who's a leader you trust and why?
Well, I would say my boyfriend, who was a major general for the United States Army, and he's retired recently, and people from all over continue to call him for advice, people that worked under him, colleagues of his. It's the trust that they had in him. They want to hear what he would do in a situation. He was great in a crisis. He was great as a mentor. In fact, when he retired, the guy that was under him, immediately under him, flew a flag across all the stations that he had worked in his whole career, even the one at the Pentagon. So to have somebody really be that passionate about their leader was, to me, incredible. I certainly didn't have that for anybody that did it for me, but connecting and trust was key for leading people in very precarious situations for a very long time. So I hope to be that kind of leader someday. And I think that's what it means to be a leader.
Sounds like we need to have him on the Trusted Leader Show at some point.
I think that would be fascinating.
So another time, thank you, Lyssa Haynes. This is David Horsager, and it's been the Trusted Leader Show. Until next time, stay trusted.